and Angels podcast. Meet my special guest, Dolly Safran. Today we're going to delve a bit into Dolly's ET experiences and the message that they have for humanity. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Dolly. Dolly Safran began her life journey as an intergenerational contactee. Her father, an airborne ranger in the U.S. Army, was also a contactee from an early age. Growing up was challenging for Dolly as she experienced episodes of disappearing from her home, psychic phenomena, and unseen friends, which caused some anxiety for her mother. Until the age of 14, Dolly's memories were not fluid. She knew strange things were happening, but could not connect reality to them. It took a huge push to fight for her conscious recall to remain intact. After gaining awareness, her life took on purpose. She began her journey as a nurse, and later she served as a civilian worker in the U.S. Department of Treasury and in the Army as a Department of Defense employee. Life changed those trajectories suddenly, and she was happy to become a zookeeper and an animal baby mama for a private zoo and sanctuary in Florida. All the while, she was being taught by and worked with ET. Dolly's decision to break her silence is now an imperative for her. So today we're going to talk about her adventures. And Dolly, welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. I'm sorry. Welcome back to Aliens and Angels.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. So what I find so interesting about you and I is we both have had these very dramatic throughout our life experiences. I have quite a bit of recall, but nothing like you. You have a completely conscious recall and an ongoing relationship with these beings. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about, where this all started for you and sort of got you, we don't need to know every single detail, but certainly, we want to know how you got started and how you started remembering and how you put it together. And then I even understand that you and Preston started working together on the book, which we'll talk about later on. We'll get Preston. He's going to join us later. I'm all excited. And we'll get him talk a little bit about that. But then I think he wanted proof or something. And you talked to your ET friends and you said, can you go and visit my friend? Oh, I don't know how you said it, but my friend Preston. And he got such dramatic confirmation that sealed it. And I'm just so excited to hear about everything. So I'll just be quiet and let you start sharing.
Well, it started literally from birth. I grew up knowing that I was a little bit different than everybody else. I always seemed like I was on some sort of trajectory. I felt compelled to learn as much as I could in life and do as much as I could. Even from a very young age, I was very psychic. That disconcerted my mom greatly, but she got used to it eventually. I would disappear from the house. We had one dramatic one where I was gone more than 2.5 hours, and the police were involved at that point, and they found me 6 miles from the house at a U-turn store in Miami, and it's like a convenience store, and that was a big deal, and they changed the way they lived because of that. Nothing seemed to keep me from leaving the house, and it got to be where it was kind of a joke on me and my mom and my dad, because I would get brought back in weird ways. Sometimes I would be on the back porch, dropped off, and sitting there waiting for her to unlock the door to let me in the morning, or on the street, and I have to walk home from a block away, and or just weird places in the house. We had big property and farm, and I used to get contacted while I was out and about and doing things. I had a horse that did not know how to react every time we saw them. My life was a dream world. I was living in this dream world where this was happening to me, and I wasn't sure it was real because my mother kept telling me, "You're dreaming, you're dreaming, you're dreaming."
Yes.
They tried to lock me in my room because they thought I was sleepwalking, and that didn't work either. That I was getting out. Didn't matter what they did. I had a dog that was an ex-police dog trained to take care of me. She went with me. They didn't care. It was just my life. And by the time I was 14, I thought, I'm either losing my mind I need help, or this is real and I really want to figure it out. What I did remember was profound. I mean, absolutely profound. I have significant memory of contact, but just no before or after, just, no during, before and after I have. And so I decided this is it. I'm figuring this out. I don't care how it has to be done. I'm going to do it. And one night I got my chance and was out in the backyard with my telescope. I was taking astronomy classes and I was doing my homework. It was a school night, and my dad's like 1:00 in the morning, go to bed. Went to bed, got everything in, packed down, got my jammies on, and just started looking outside because I don't sleep a lot. And I'm looking up, and all of a sudden I see many, many stars that are not stars. And I thought, this is really cool. This is it. I just knew this is it. And I started watching them, and they paired off into pairs of twos, and they kept going in different directions, east, west, north, and south. One pair came down over my area. One went east toward Dadeland Mall in Kendall. And then the other one came out where we were living, out in the middle of nowhere. And it came down over our property. Now I'm watching the whole thing. I see it changing colors as it comes down. I start to see that it's a metallic. And as it got about, 150, 250 feet above my backyard, the trees started going like this. There's no wind that night. It's just whipping around and whipping around. I'm like, oh my gosh, And it came down lower, and it would sway back and forth a little bit and then dip. It was not able to just hold position like that. It was like a boat on the water. Okay. I'm looking at it now, no markings, totally smooth, beautiful glassy chrome look to it. And it had ports, and two of them facing the front. They were oblong and rectangular. And I see a being in each window, and they're looking at me. My brain went, oh, wait a minute. Nope. And time out. I freaked and I turned. My bed is right there. And I tried to shoot under my bed, literally thinking, this is it, And I froze. The whole room burst into blue, white light, and I froze. And then, poof, no memory again, waking up on my floor hours and hours later with not my clothes on. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. I was sick to my stomach. I was woozy and dizzy. And I just, in that moment, I knew that I was not going to stop. That was it. I'm figuring this out. And I heard my mom in the kitchen. My dad was getting ready to go. It's about 4:30 in the morning. And I went and took a shower because it's a school day. And I went in the kitchen, and she's in there just cooking. And she's listening to Paul Harvey on the radio. And I literally sat down at the kitchen table. We had a huge eating kitchen. And I said, Mom, did you hear anything last night? Did anything bother you? Noises, lights, anything? And she's like, what are you talking about? And she looked at me, turned around. And I said, maybe UFO? And she went, no. Turned back around and finished doing breakfast. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I cannot do this. It's got to come out of me. Somebody got to talk to me about this. And Paul Harvey went off and the news came on. And the very first thing out of the newscaster's mouth was 2 Dade 9 police officers saw UFOs last night. And they described the whole thing, the craft, all of it. And my whole brain exploded. It was like somebody turned a crank in my head. I just exploded. And I started jumping up and down. I said, I told you, UFOs. I saw it. It was there. It was here. And she turned around and said, get out of my kitchen now. It freaked her out. She was terrified. She was shaking.
Yeah.
You can't, when you got a mom like that, you don't, And I was defeated, instantly deflated. And I stalked out the door and ran into my dad. And my dad said, look, I know you're upset. I know you saw what you saw, but you need to go calm down. Go think about it. Meditate, something. And I went in the bathroom and I turned out the light, locked the door, only private room in the house, and sunk to the floor. And in my mind at that age, the only thing I could do was replay it. That kept coming through my head, clearly coming through my head. Just replay the whole damn thing, second to second. I have an eidetic memory and I can do that. So I did. And right to the part where the light hit me, it was like somebody unlocked something in me, and I had a big white flash of light in the back of my head, and I experienced it. I knew in a second, in a flash, all this information all at one time. And it made me sick. I was dizzy. I was like,
I
oh my God,
bet.
oh my God. I
Mhm.
started rocking, hugging my knees. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I started crying. I was laughing. I mean, the whole thing, you know. I stuck my face under the sink and rinsed my face off because I must have been bawling my guts out. My eyes were already swollen shut. And I didn't know who, I mean, this was big. And I thought, where do I go today? What do I do? And I thought, just go to school. Just run through your life and just let it seep through your brains.
Mhm.
When I got to school, which is like 35 miles from where we lived, I had a migraine headache like you wouldn't believe.
Mm.
Just miserable, sitting there, and nothing anybody said to me. It was like echoes in my head.
Mhm.
Finally got to my social studies class, and I had a really funky teacher. This is in the 70s, okay? And it was 73. And he said, what's wrong? And I said, I have a migraine headache. And he said, well, come here. We're going to try something out. I'm like, okay, what are you going to do to me? And he said, I got this new thing. It's called biofeedback training.
Mm.
And we're going to teach you biofeedback. And you're going to heal your own headache. And I went, okay. And he put electrodes on my head on a band. And I saw this little train set. And, you know, the electric thing, you know, went to it. And he said, I want you to clear your mind. And you're going to go into alpha. And he described alpha to me, which I kind of already knew. And he said, let's see if you can turn the train on. When the train comes on, that's how you know you're an alpha. And then you're going to intentionally tell your headache to stop.
Mhm.
Okay. I had the train going in less than half a second, and more started happening to me. I got sicker. I almost puked on him. I'm not kidding you. And I said, I can't do this. I pulled it off my head, and I walked out the door. 35 miles from home on foot is no easy feat. And I started walking. I made it all the way down to the main road in Miami, which is Bird Road, which goes way out to the Everglades, that Tamiami Trail. And I'm walking and walking and walking and walking. And I saw the Metro bus, and I thought, please God, let me have money in my pocket. And I did. And I got on the Metro bus, which went way out there. But I still had like, I don't know, 5-7 miles to walk after that.
Mhm.
By the time I got home, I was exhausted, and all I could do was lay there. I couldn't sleep. I just laid there and just let it all fill in my head.
Mhm.
And my dad, who had come home that afternoon, realized that my mom told him something's up with her. She isn't right. This is not good. They were thinking about taking me to a doctor. My dad said, don't worry about it. I'm going to take her for a ride tomorrow, and we're going to talk through it and see where she's at. And I
Mhm.
said, okay. I get up the next morning, 5 o'clock. My dad says, we're going on for a ride. And I said, okay. And he said, we're going to get breakfast out, which is weird in Miami because in those days, where was a place to go eat?
Mm.
He brought coffee in a thermos. I drank coffee. He took me to this man's house. It's in Fort Worth, Florida, which is like in Miami. If you leave Miami, you start heading north up, you know, you go past Hialeah, and Fort Worth is around there before the beach is Palm Beach. And we went to Fort Worth. And we went to this house, and he knocked on the door, and the door opened, and I realized I knew who that man was. I'd met him before, but when you're really, really young, you don't think. And he said, come in, and we came in, and then I realized his name was Edgar Mitchell. My dad was friends with him. My dad worked for NASA, okay? He told him that what happened in the kitchen, and he's staring at me, and he said, she's really upset. Something's going on. She's trying to remember things. He didn't realize that I already now knew. And I said, well, let's do some relaxation stuff. And he told me about this program that he had, you know, for consciousness and health and well-being and all this other stuff, and, you know, connecting to the universe. Okay. And I said, okay, I'll try it, you know. So he started getting me relaxed. And about an hour later, he said, I want to see if I can bring you down into a sleep, you know, a hypnotic sleep. And let's see if we can get you to open up your memory. So I thought, okay, I'll hold him, you know, what the hell. And it didn't work. He tried and tried and tried. And he finally told my dad she can't be hypnotized. There's something going on. She cannot.
Mhm.
And that's when I looked at him and I said, I already remember.
Mhm.
It's like, what do you remember? And I started to tell him. And I'm looking at my dad because I think my dad is going to freak out. Okay.
Oh yeah, you don't know yet that your dad's had. Okay, good.
And I'm looking at my dad, and my dad said, "Stop, just a second before you utter another word." He said, "Dolly, I'm a contactee. I've always been one my whole life." And I'm looking at him, and he said, "I didn't have the same experience as you did, but almost just like it." And he told me what happened to him when he had first contact with them. And I was like, oh my God. You know, he was off in the woods with his brother out in Wisconsin. They lived on a big dairy farm, and they grabbed a turkey. They were going to barbecue a turkey out in the woods camping. They didn't pull the packet out of it, and it exploded on the fire. And it gutted, I mean, just everything. And they went to the lake and rinsed the bird off. They were going to go back and finish cooking it. And that's when they saw the light come over the lake over their heads. And my Uncle Bill and my dad both got taken aboard. And my dad never forgot it. He remembered the whole thing, and they were talking to him. And it was so close to what happened to me as far as speaking with them and understanding what it was they were talking to me about.
Mhm.
And it dawned on me, oh my God, you know, and it really dawned on me that I was expected to do this. It kind of formed in my head that,
Yep.
you know, this is part of who I am and why I am.
Yeah, your
And
mission in life.
yeah,
I just wanted to ask you, did they talk to you like in English with voices, or was it telepathic, or how did the communication happen?
they spoke to me totally telepathically.
Mhm.
Mama can enunciate. She can form, you know, she uses her voice box, but it's treacherously slow compared to how fast they think and how,
Mhm.
and so it's always been psychic. And I speak more than one language. I speak Swedish, talar du svenska. Do you speak Swedish? So I'm thinking I'm hearing them in Swedish is what I believe. You know, now when they speak to me, I hear multiple ways of understanding them because I've learned some of their language as well.
Mhm.
And but it's always psychic. Every now and then I'll get a hand gesture or something like that, or an eye,
Mhm.
but it's all telepathic. Um, when you are psychic, it's really easy to hear them. When you're
Oh yeah.
using these, it's like a clear channel. There's no doubt in your mind what's going
Mhm.
on. And
Mhm.
you don't
I
just hear them,
agree.
you hear them thinking, you know, it's incredible. And
I
you don't,
agree.
it's not like we're talking now, it's not in sentences, it's whole concepts all at the
Mhm.
same time. It's very fast. Um,
Mhm.
it leaves no doubt what they're telling you. And yeah, it's really, really cool.
It is very cool, very cool. And I'm sensing that although it can be a bit discombobulating to have one of those experiences, that it wasn't life threatening. It wasn't like frightening like the horror movies they have on TV. So can you speak a little bit to that? Maybe you could speak to where they're from and how they travel and what their sort of mission is, why they're
Okay.
coming and visiting us.
Okay. I was born a weird person. Okay. I've always been psychic. So I've always been able, empathy is like, you turn on anything around me and I'm going to pick right up on it. And uh, when I was about, I don't know, 2.5, 3, my parents were watching. I was supposed to be in bed. They were watching King Kong, you know, the black and white one. They
Mm-hmm.
read. And I snuck out of my room and I crawled on the floor and I was on the right side of the couch and I was like watching this movie and it horrified me. That scared me. Okay, that had an effect. And when I went to bed that night, I saw King Kong looking in my windows in the middle of the night, and I whoop-de-dooed. Okay, and I realized at that moment that that was not real. It has nothing to do with reality at all, and that I shouldn't subject myself to it. So I've
Mm-hmm.
always been one of those people. I'm a hardcore person. In other words, reality is better than that kind of fantasy. And I've refused my entire life. I didn't watch chainsaw movies, no dead people movies, no
Yeah.
nothing. Never watched them, never. My
Mm-hmm.
cousin, when I was an adult, dragged me to a movie in Chicago. It was Alien when it
Oh,
first came out. And I'm not kidding you. When that thing popped out of his chest, I flipped over the back of my seat, literally
yeah.
just jumped. I crawled out of there. People were laughing at me, and I said, "No, no, 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 this is not real.
You
No,"
know,
you
that's
know.
funny. That's funny you mention it because um I went with some friends and we went to see Alien, but they told me it was a comedy because I'm very, very easily freaked out by that kind of stuff. And I went and I was literally traumatized.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything so far from my truth or your truth.
Right.
And I think that's not good for preparing people for contact. Let's put it that way. But it's funny that you had this very similar experience as me. I didn't jump out of my seat, but I was seriously, I couldn't sleep for a week after that.
Yeah. I was like, I warned everybody, never again, don't even try. I will react badly. No. And everybody said, well, you're scared, you're afraid. And I said, no, I'm not afraid. You like to be afraid. There's something wrong with you because of that.
Yeah.
And they didn't understand what I was saying. And people go to horror movies all the time. They go to haunted houses. They watch bad videos. They play video games that are treacherous. And I'm thinking, what are you getting from that? What kind of high is your brain taking on? Because reality is 10 times much more fantastic and great than that stuff.
Yeah.
But here, they don't show you reality like they should. You don't know what's going on around you. Reality here is really, really awesome if you really knew what was going on, So I think I see the reason it's to keep you preoccupied so you do what they want you to do and not what you want to do. I think it's a control device.
I agree.
So I'm not afraid of anything, okay? Not really. You can get in my face and everything, and I'll just look at you and say, not a good idea today. You think about what you're about to do because I will react to you, that kind of thing. ETs do not try to frighten anybody. And if they do tend to if you are frightened of them, they will go around the block to explain to you what's really happening, what the reality is, and treat you to anything you want. I mean, they will pet you if you want to be petted, it's okay. They show you the ship. They let you look at everything. They'll try to help you learn what it is to fly one of them. They'll let you sit in the seat and we'll take you out. Anything just to make sure that you understand that they're not malevolent and they're not here to hurt us. And they're only trying to help. And we're preconditioned on this planet to see only the bad, to be paranoid, to be reactive. I mean, I know that as a nurse because you haven't lived in an emergency room. This great big burly guy comes in and he's got a cut arm and he's got to have stitches. And they act like a 2-year-old. And then they try to hurt you for it. Okay? That's not funny at all. A young person, who should be well-versed in all things medical or how medical people want to help you. And they go, banana boat too. It's not okay. And we're trained to be that way. And so deal with that. They really do. All of them. It's a condition of humanity here that they have a hard time coping with because we're just over the top. So
I agree. I agree. In my experiences, although they're a little different than yours, there's nothing. I had people say, well, weren't you afraid? No, not at all. And I said, I tell people it's humans who are capable of doing horrible things. Plus, if ET wanted to hurt us, wouldn't they have done it a long time ago?
Right. Well, we're not the only iteration of people on this planet. Okay, this planet's been here a long time, and they're now starting. The truth is surfacing finally. They're digging deeper. They're looking for more things, and they're seeing that there's 12,000 years ago. There's 24,000 years ago. There's even further back in that there have been different layers of us being here, and they don't know why. And that's in the book. I'm trying to explain it to y'all. We have issues. Okay. And so they've only ever tried to help us. They've lived on this planet from time to time with us, not this iteration, but before. And they're just trying to help us evolve. Okay, we are their children. We're related to them. And they just want us to evolve. They want us to get to where they're at. We're not doing a good job this time because we're not using our abilities. Whoever runs the place here likes to poison us with things like fluoride messes up your pineal. It calcifies it. Bad water, bad air, bad food, everything. I mean, it's just crazy. And it's all to make us do what they want us to do. We're not living autonomous lives here. We're not evolving and enriching our minds and our spirits. Spirituality is as important as eating every day.
Right.
And we're not doing that for ourselves. Our children don't grow up in joy. They grow up in fear. And that's really hard hard for them to swallow right now with everything
Mhm.
that they've got going on in this galaxy, as well as, with all of us here. It's a big deal for them. We make toys that are not toys. They are devastatingly destructive things. You know, when you live in this universe is a construct. In third dimension, we're all in a construct here. What I mean by that, it's the mainframe of our existence. It's
Mhm.
hard reality here. It's gravity heavy here. We come here specifically to learn and employ what we learn, become wise. Um, and this time around, it's out of control. They've developed things that can go through dimensional space. Everybody in the third dimension is living in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way up to the 12th. We're all in the same space, dimensionally in the same space. They can see us, we can't see them because
Yes.
we're not using our third eye. We
Right.
can communicate with them because of that. It is imperative to understand that when you pop off a nuclear device, you're not just affecting us here, you're affecting them as well. Because
Mhm.
dimensionally speaking, we're all in the same space. That's not funny, and it kills people. And they know when we're going to do it, and they have to literally evacuate themselves from.
The body thrives when it has a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change we wish to see in the world. Sometimes, though, we need a little help from consultation and support services. Have you discovered that this world is not what you thought it was? Have recent global events awakened you and leave you feeling unsettled? Do you feel isolated with your not so popular newfound beliefs? Would you like to learn to thrive in this new state of awareness? It is a big shock to wake up and find that the old familiar world is gone, and it can be disturbing to go down the various rabbit holes only to find that the information is difficult to digest, and few people are willing to talk openly about it. You are not a conspiracy theorist. You are awakening, and once you find your way through it, there are many blessings on the other side. My name is Karen Holton, and I offer vital services that may be just what you need, and support for your journey into the weird and wonderful. Check out my Awakening Support and Ascension consultation, created to support individuals with their chosen alternative realities and lifestyles, health and recovery, and spiritual adventures. For more details, check out the various vital services found on my website, and be assured that I have found personal success with every category featured. My website is www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com.
From anywhere near where that bomb's going to go off. They take a hit as well as we do. It's terrible. It's scary, okay, for them. And they keep telling us, stop it, stop it. But they don't have a right to tell us how to exist because we're autonomous just like they are. And we created our problems and we should be smart enough to fix them. That's what they think. And they're right. Actually, I agree with that thinking. And so it's up to us to open our mouths and talk and say, there's a lot more to love than there is to hate. There's a lot more to understanding than there is misunderstanding or deliberately not understanding one another. There's a lot more to getting along and helping each other than hating and reviling one another and leading separate lives. One of the things ET taught me growing up, I've seen many different ET. They're all ethnically different, like we are here. We don't look the same here. We're a little bit different ethnically, but we are the human genome. We are human. Homo sapiens sapien here. Absolutely, all of us are the same thing. I know this because I'm a nurse. We all have the same blood. We all have the same body, tissue, everything. We're interchangeable. Just because we look a little different does not make us different. We are one of us, all one. Okay? They're the same way. They may look different, but they come from the human genome. That is a constant in our universe. That's why I wanted it to be symmetry, because it is symmetry. All life is got DNA, and all that DNA is related to one another, and it expresses out differently for different reasons, but it's all of us. And if we hate each other, what do you think we think? There are people who tell me, oh, they're demons and this is terrible, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's really hard to explain to you that if you get stinking thinking somewhere like this planet and it's built up enough, you can create monsters here, and demons are that. There are people who have just turned to the dark side, and they're still around, and they've gained power, and they're bugging you, not them, us. We're doing it to ourselves. So, all right, I'm on my rant.
Hi, Preston. What a treat to have you drop in. How lovely. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good, Karen. How are you?
I'm good too. I'm good too. Dolly and I are having a great visit, and so far we've covered basically her history and how it all got started and unfolded, and then we got a little bit into. I was asking Dolly. Oh, that's the other thing, Dolly. I don't know if you touched on this yet. Where do these beings come from? Do they live here interdimensionally? Do they live on another planet? Where are they? You know, how do you understand where they're from?
On this planet right now, all of us are genetically related to one another, but we were planted here. We came here 12,000 over 12,000 years ago, and that's because there was a calamity and we were taken off, and then they brought us back. But many generations of us that occurred here. We are, all of us on this planet, related to many different ethnicities of ETs. We can call each other, we're like Heinz 57 Mad Dog mixes. We are children of the universe, okay? We're all back and forth with one another. So we're many things. We're some of us are part tall gray, some of us are tall white, some of us are Anunnaki, some of us are, I mean, it's just all of us. We have little bits of them here. They come from many different places in our galaxy. There are some that are from the Orion clusters. There's some that are from the Zeta Reticuli star clusters. A lot of people think that that Pleiades is an actual place they come from. That's not true. The Pleiades is a star nursery. Okay, it is violent and unbelievably making new planets, new solar systems, things like that. That's what it does. But directly behind it, as the crow flies, in astronomy, we're constantly moving. We're rotating and we're going around something else. We spiral, we do all kinds of things. So our perspective is constantly changing. So if you say, all right, here's the Pleiades, and right directly behind it from our perspective is another planetary cluster. Okay, and that's where some of us are from. It's the Delphi systems. That's where the Polynesian, Asian, Lemuria types, that's where they all come from. Zeta Reticuli is mostly tall whites, to be honest with you, okay? And some of the tall grays. We also have the Orion clusters. There's two different star systems that they come from there, one main one and another smaller one, a little bit near it, but not quite. We have several others. The Anunnaki come from another, like if you were looking at Orion, okay, and you know, Orion kind of points to, my brain's gonna go blank. It would be the Zeta Reticuli, okay? The Anunnaki come from a little bit further out than that, okay? A lot of stuff that you see on the ground here points to the different places that they're from. They've left star maps on the ground. So if you study it, which I hope you do, you can get an idea of what's going on, okay? Then there are some things that are just from here, period. And I'll give you one of them. I know that people know that there are reptilian types out there. They are from Earth. They originated here way back when. They're part of it. They've always survived here. They're sentient. They're evolving, but they're not as far along as ETs are. And our alt governments have gotten a hold of them, and it's not a good situation for them. They're using them, and that's really sad to me, because they're innocent beings and they're being
very interesting. And you know what's interesting? Sorry, Preston. I just want to make a quick comment, and then Preston, I was hoping you could tell us about the book Symmetry, and more about that. But I wanted to say that a lot of what I know from my contact absolutely harmonizes with what you're saying, Dolly. Even though at this state of my understanding of my experience, they may be two completely different groups. They may be
Sure.
related, but either way, I'm getting the same kind of information. I've been taught that this is the fifth, what they call reseeding of Earth, that there's components of all the different kinds of ETs in our genetics, and even to the point where at a certain point there would be what I understand is a harvest time, where our dominant DNA, whichever persuasion it is going to become more active and show up more in our lives. But Preston, I just wanted to again welcome you and give you a chance to say something, because you know how it is when two girls get chatty, and I wanted you to come in and just talk about maybe a little bit about the book Symmetry, because that's where we want people to go to really get the whole story, or at least as much as that you folks have documented.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, for inviting me. And hi, Dolly.
Hi.
I just want to quickly reaffirm what Dolly was saying, because as you're talking about, the star system representations here on Earth, Orion turns up in different cultures all over this planet, and this, the spacing of the Great Pyramids even. And it's funny because I just had my own DNA done with, what do you call it, ancestry.com or whatever that is, thinking, that I had maybe 4 different types of ancestry in me, half Czechoslovakian, Irish and English and so forth. No, I have got 20 or 30 different types of
30.
DNA. Yes, I was really shocked. And I think that I encourage people to do that, because it will show how truly connected we all are. And I bet you, if somehow someone was able to get the DNA of some of these ETs and had it done by Ancestry DNA, it would be very similar to ours. That would be so interesting. So yeah, that Symmetry does talk about that. As Dolly said, that's why she wanted to call the book Symmetry. And it was such a delight to write this book, probably the hardest book I've ever had to write, because Dolly's experiences are lifelong and very extensive. A lot of people I interview had, I was taken on board this time, and this time, maybe 3 or 4 times. And Dolly's like, well, let me see. It was about twice a week since I was age 14. So we're talking not hundreds, thousands of experiences.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And every time I talk to her, I'm like, oh my gosh, this part isn't in the book. This part didn't make it in. This part didn't make it in. So we're going to have to put together a sequel, perhaps even a series, but definitely at least one more book to just even scratch the surface of what she's experienced. And I will say, Dolly, it was a hard time for me to get you to open up in the beginning, as it is for all experiencers.
Oh yeah, because we're so used to it. Like my mother was similar to Dolly's mother. So my grandmother, who was very open about her contact, my mother was just, basically humiliated me anytime I said anything like, you're making it up, you have an overactive imagination. And I grew up thinking I was crazy. And but then I didn't have a lot of memories until later. But anyway, enough about me. So where are you guys headed with all of this? I understand you're forming a network or a show or something too. I'm really excited to hear about that.
Go, Preston.
Yeah, this was something I'd certainly thought about for a while, but being so busy writing books and interviewing people, it's not something I really pursued until an opportunity came along that I couldn't resist. And yeah, we now have a weekly podcast called The Light Gate, which Dolly and I both co-host together. I wasn't going to do it alone. I've done a radio show in the past, and I know how much work it is. So kudos to you, Karen, because it's not easy.
No, it's and people think we make all this money. I actually haven't made a dime. It's actually cost me over $10,000 to present my information to the world. And It's interesting, but yeah, it is a bit of a job, but after a while, it kind of is like riding a bike. You get your week into a bit of a schedule where, every Wednesday you do this, every Thursday you do that. It actually helped me a lot just to have just a more predictable life. But I'm really, really excited that you're doing this, because I think now more than ever, people need to hear the truth and the many truths, because we have different experiences. They might be a bit different, but I do suspect there might be a false alien invasion, because that the limits that I have seen, governments and behind the scenes, I don't know, puppet masters, let me just call them that, that they're capable of almost anything and pretty outrageous stuff. And so if people know the truth and they hear about real experiences, what's happening, I think it will help a lot of people to not get caught up in that drama. What say you folks about that?
Totally agree. Absolutely. I can tell you for a fact that ET is no longer here. They had to bug out. They took as many people off the ground. They did have people on the ground here, and they have vacated the proximity of anywhere near our solar system. They have, in our galaxy alone, there are other solar systems like us that are in line with this galactic current sheet that's coming through right now that we're passing through. And it has made all our sun react to it. It changed its poles first.
Yes.
We're all changing all of ours. Everything is getting really, really weird. And that's just a precursor to what's going to happen. Our days are actually shorter by seconds now. We have massive CMEs coming in because our magnetosphere is down by almost 40% now. We're taking hits from that, and there is going to be a calamity. It's coming, and they know it, and they can't fly here anyway under these conditions. Let's put it this way, for the last 100 years, it started becoming a problem then. And as the years have progressed, it got worse and worse and worse, to where they were having crashes regularly. And the day came where they went, nope, can't do anymore, we're done. And they've backed out. Now there are those like you and me here who know the truth, are telling the truth, and trying to help everybody wake up, to get them on board with the realization that we have a few things to work on before we leave here. And one of them is understanding what reality really is here. And the only way you're going to do that is if you open your mind, you open your heart, and you start using your abilities to hear the truth. And you'll realize that you're being lied to all the time about everything. You also need to know that no matter what happens to us, no matter what, we are not, if we should die, and lots of people do die, they're not dead. They move on to the next thing.
Yes.
So that is a possibility that a lot of people are going to suddenly move to the next thing. Some of us won't. Some of us will remain and will go with them. They will come back when it's safe to do so. And they are on a timeline with this as well as us. A lot's going to happen to us before they can. But until that time, we just need to resolve ourselves to take care of ourselves and do the best we can, and to wake other people up, to let the message spread out. I see it happening. People are way more aware now than they were 10 years ago. I hope that it exponentially every day changes us, and gets us on board with this, and maybe helps the cabal, those that want to, control us, to wake up too, because they're not incapable of it. They're just very steadfastly in their paradigm of thinking. Be good, because we're getting close to being taken off here, and it would be better if we're all cooperating about it. Okay, it's like, if you got a sinking ship, all lifeboats in the water, all the vests on, everybody helps everybody. We should be doing that here now. I mean, literally, this is our boat, and it's going to have a problem, and we should be helping each other, literally, in absolute reality, instead of all this other stuff that's going on that people don't pay attention to it at all.
Yeah, it reminds me of the sinking of the Titanic, where people didn't want to get into the lifeboats because they thought they were safe. We have a tendency to be in denial, to underestimate evil, and just ignore a truth that is difficult to face. And I think it's what Dolly said is paramount, that we have to recognize that death isn't the end, because that's the fear that guides people. And if you can just overcome that, you are leaps and bounds ahead. Because we are all going to die one day. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing. It's a very healing event. You can always come back if you want. So first of all, leave that fear behind. Face the truth, because knowledge is power. It really is. And we keep making the same mistake over and over again of underestimating evil and ignoring the fact that we are being mistreated. And I think this is all such good news, because we don't have to live that way anymore. We can now wake up, overcome the shackles that have been placed over humanity for what, thousands of years?
Thousands. And in this, and as Dolly says, in this iteration alone, right? So
Right.
Exactly.
yeah. And the other thing too that I get very clearly from my guides and my ET friends is that we can pull it off. We can
It's a possibility.
recognize our sovereignty. We can choose. We can do this. And again, it's like what you said, Preston. It's the fear of death seems to be the underwriting thing that they're using, to control people. But so we can do it. And so we're finding each other, and we're forming, friendships and relationships, and the news is spreading. And your show that you have now, which reminds me, before I let you guys go today, please send me the link, because I want to put the link. That's one link I don't have it for the description, is about your show. Anything you want to have on there, because it would be lovely for people to come over and start viewing your shows. I'm sure you have a lot of people already doing that, but I'm just saying, hey, more the merrier, eh? Let's get this party started.
Now, I have a question for you. I'm going to put you on the line here. I would love for you to come see us at the Light Gate and let us hear about your story. How's that?
I would love to. I'm working on a book. I've been bugging Preston for 3 years now, saying, Preston, I'm working on my book. Will you help me get published when it's done? He says, yeah, whenever you're ready, Karen. And then I had all kinds of stuff come up. I won't bore you with it. But one thing that's helped a lot is I have a large monitor now. I can see what I'm doing. Ooh, and that's helping a lot. So I am, I don't have it quite ready yet, but it is coming. And I would love to come on and share my experiences. Now, my actual recall is from 3 months of having these experiences at night. But there was a time dilation, so that while I was away and learning and doing things, it was more like 3.5 years. So, but I got to tell you, people think, oh yeah, UFO picked me up and we did this and we did that. And I came back, and I'm going, okay, I'm not saying I don't believe you, but you know what? It screwed me up. It screwed me up for a long time, because I had to come to understand what I was experiencing was real, that I wasn't going to be popular.
I understand. I remember 3 months of being with them, straight 3 months, and then coming back within 10 minutes of going. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
It's a shock. You sit there and you think, oh my God, what just happened to me? I'm older than my actual chronological age because of that. I've been told this by them. And it's like, how much older? And they're like, it doesn't matter. Okay. But it is a shock when you come back. Sometimes you have to get your bearings. You have to think about who you are. It's like it's two lives going smack head on.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just like my friend said, you have dippity do sometimes. And I'm like thinking, yeah, I do, don't I?
Yeah.
And I can't explain it to them. It's like, yep. Mm-hmm.
And then unpacking the teaching and unpacking what we've been taught. And then trying to put something that is very abstract into common language so that other people can understand. Well, there's no way I can do that accurately. I can do as best as. But I'm really excited.
Absolutely, completely. Because it's like, oh my God, how do I tell you this? Yeah. I'm explaining something to somebody right now, and it's technical, and I know what I want to say, but there's so much of it, and they just want a paragraph or two, and I'm thinking, how do I do that? How do I do that? So I made a phone call and said, okay, look, I just need to make sure that your foundational knowledge is on board so that what I say to you get. And I did that, and now I'm writing it out, and it's more than a paragraph, okay? Way more. And, what can I tell you? And it's hard to explain to people. there's also another need, and I bet you know this one big time. When you learn something, what do you want to do? You want to talk about it. You want to put it into action. You want to use it. And when you come back from being with them, who are you going to use it on? I mean, who? And I had one really good friend, bless her, she's moved on, but she would sit and bless her, listen to me, and just let me tell her, okay, get it off my chest, because that's how you work things out in our minds, is you talk about it to yourself, or you talk to somebody else, you weigh it back and forth until you understand it totally, and then you can use it. And then I'd be on my front porch in the backyard or out in the glade somewhere making things, I'm not kidding you, you have to use it. And I think that's what a lot of people's problems are now. They come back, what are they going to do? Who are they going to tell? And I think that was a deliberate act to make it look like we're all crazy. You know what I'm saying? We should be
which is why contact is so widespread. 1 in 40, 1 in 50 people is about perfect, because we all know about 40 or 50 people, which means everybody on this planet has gotten the message. And you can see that. We all know what UFOs are. We've all heard of ETs. It's in every level of our culture. We're saturated in it. Their campaign has been very effective. So we're seeing an age of enlightenment here.
We already have disclosure. No matter what the government says, we've had disclosure. They just want to run their own narrative, so they're in control of something. That's all.
Yeah, well, too bad, because there's a great, wonderful, wild world, so much better than a video game that we have, especially once we start to realize, and then once fear leaves, we can do anything. It's so amazing. And the other thing too, I've noticed, is the people who come out and take the ridicule and talk about their experiences, they're often the most lovely, gentle people I have ever met. And nobody's trying to convince anybody. We're just talking about how it is. So I was telling Dolly earlier that this show was actually originally called Aliens and Astrology. I had a co-host who left the show, and then I rebranded it into Aliens and Angels. And here it's everybody on the show is going to be someone who has had direct experience. And I'm really excited about that. I don't mean to copy your show, but I'm guessing your show is sort of the same thing. But of course, you're different people, so it will have a different flavor. I'm really excited. Tell me again the name of your show that you have.
It's called The Light Gate.
The Light Gate.
With Preston Dennett and Dolly Safran. And we're leaning more toward experiencers and getting the truth out that way. Yeah. Going back to people that we've known, or he's already, communicated with, and letting them tell their stories. He's got them in books, but it would be great for everybody to see them on camera and hear their story. Yes. And then sometimes we have some authoritative people, like we had Michael Schratt on a week ago. And that was a lot of fun, actually. He's a really honest, nice guy, and he's just trying to bring the truth out, and he digs deeply, deeply for the truth, like Preston does. I was very amazed to understand that about him. And we're just looking for people who just want to know the truth or have truth to tell. That's it. So.
Well, now that I know that too, I'd be happy to recommend anybody I know who maybe you haven't connected with, because this is a very important, I think, time for us all to connect. Now, we still have a few minutes left. I want to ask you a difficult question. If you're not comfortable with it, we don't have to talk about it. Okay. But I'm wondering if you can tell us what your ET contacts, what is their conception of God? What is their idea? What is that? Is that because I have gotten information from mine. I don't want to say it until you say yours, but I know one thing, it's sure not some old guy in a beard sitting on the throne that's going to send you to hell if you're bad. Like, none of that exists. So I just want to give you the chance to talk about, and the other thing too is, wouldn't they, if they're in the three-dimensional, be under the same kind of expectation as what we would be when we become spiritual people?
Even more so, yes.
So yeah, take it away on that. I think that would be.
They do understand the concept of the God concept. They believe it. They know it. They understand it. In their minds, they call it the all mind. because it's neither male or female. It is not just nature. It includes everything, all consciousness.
Exactly.
And that's why they call it all mind, all mind. And what they understand is that the entire universe, our universe, is conscious.
Mhm.
And we're all part of that consciousness together. And we can hear it talking. That's what prayer was taught to us, so that we could commune with the all mind and learn from it. It's very chatty, and it'll tell you anything you want to know. And you can even directly ask it for one specific thing. And if it thinks, if it's there are rules, if you need it, if it's going to help you, and if it's not involving destroying what your karma might be, it will
Yes.
intervene and directly affect you. They also believe that karma is a real thing. We are here to learn. We come here in the physical from source. They believe we're all in source together in the huge linked up part of the all mind. And we come here to learn, to empower us to seek the truth, to encourage us to learn everything that we can, know all that is knowable, and then proceed on with our lives, because we are autonomous beings. And that means employing what we know. In other words, it's one thing to know how something works, it's another one to do it. So this is a good hardwired place for us to employ our knowledge and gain wisdom. Once we reach a certain amount of wisdom, or as people say, vibrational ascendance, your mind is constantly operating. Your physical mind has, alpha, beta, theta, gamma, delta waves. The universe thinks in those waves as well. We're all one thing. And it's another reason for symmetry. We're communicating back and forth to one another, even without even realizing it. And it is each mind, each of us has our own thumbprint. Our consciousness is individual. And how we raise that consciousness is with knowledge, is with understanding how things work. Emotional maturity, emotional responsibility, spiritual maturity, spiritual responsibility, and then employing all of that. And it raises us up to where we can leave this place and move on through our universe into different dimensional space and be different things. We're capable, when we pass here, we don't have to come back to Earth every time. We can go anywhere in this universe,
Yes.
be born, experience anything. And they know that because we're all connected. It's all the same thing. Everybody.
It sounds very much like the Native Americans' conception of God, which is the spirit which moves through all things. Or the
Yes.
Australian Aborigines, the dream
Right.
time, which allows you to
Mhm.
connect to source. Or
Right.
Buddhism even, which is all about right path, right action, right thinking.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's beautiful, and that's what we need to move towards.
Absolutely. And after I spent that time with the beings that I spent time with, it was very difficult to integrate myself back into mainstream society. In fact, I never really have. My friends I make on the internet or through my shows or their shows, or they're my friends. I can't fit in because of what I know. So how I view everything is being very, very different. But I do understand that a lot of people don't remember, and that's a kindness, even though they have these experiences, because it messes you up. It's hard to fit back into the social construct to then, proceed with our life lessons and everything else. Anyway, I just
What
wondered
it's
if
going
you
to do on a massive, like if we all did it at one time, it would be so convenient, because we would all be experiencing the same thing at the same time, and we'd have each other for succor, to help each other through it. But when you're doing it on an individual basis and you're out there, it's really difficult. I understand that. I wish, because we are all connected, we can hear each other. My thoughts to you, everybody else can hear us thinking if they want to. If we all just latched onto that suddenly, the world would change in a day. It wouldn't be the same place. It would literally shift. And I think that's what people are talking about, the shift. It's not the shift to the planet, it's the shift to our consciousness.
Yeah, near-death experiencers talk about the same thing. A real hard time fitting in afterwards, going to the heavenly realms and coming back and experiencing universal love. And their family members are like, how can you love a complete stranger as much as you love me? It's
easy.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's actually easier than doing it the way we've been taught to do it. And basically, we have not been taught anything that, in my opinion, that we need just from this earth plane, and the systems like the education system, medical systems, on and it goes. It's all kind of got an agenda. And you can fool some of the people all of the time, and you can fool all the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And so I just really appreciate the strength of your voices, of course, all the many publications you've put out, Preston, all the shows you've done independently, now the Light Gate. I'm thrilled to bits, because this is how we find other people who have similar experiences, and they go, oh my God, I'm not crazy after all. Yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to convince myself too that I was crazy, because I actually didn't really want it to be real.
Right.
I don't know if you had that too.
So the idea of wanting to fit in with everybody, so you go along with it, because not to fit in is aloneness. And it's really, it is not easy to do this. And the number one thing you can lose right now to make it easier on yourself is fear. Don't fear that which is good. Don't fear that which will enlighten you. Don't fear that which will lift you up and make you well and whole. Okay. We're not well and whole. If we're disconnected, we're just not. And we need that. We need to be well. We need to be whole with one another. So try. Everybody try. Just try.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. Give it a go.
So before we close out the show, I would like to give you both a chance to talk about what message, if you could put it into human words, what message ET has for humanity at this time.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll let Preston be the last one. It's something that everybody who's had contact has heard, and I'm going to repeat it. We are you. You are us. We are all one. And that means that in all things, we are here to help one another. And please be open and ask for it. Look for us. Use your abilities. Come home.
Yeah, that's pretty much the message I think I've been given, sort of my life mission, to just let people know that ETs are real, that we aren't alone. And also that we as human beings are an integral part of the universe. We can't be separated from it. We are it. We are all one. Love is the answer. Have fun. Leave fear behind. We're here to have fun and learn. Enjoy it. That would be my message.
Oh, I would agree with you 100%. It's like watching a kitten play. I just got a second cat, and he's only 6 months old, and boy, is he a zinger. And, he just wants to have fun and curious and investigate everything and play. And, I don't think we were meant to be a whole lot different than that. I think that just this programming that we need to overcome or accept the fact that that's one thing that we've been programmed, but we also have tremendous freedom to play and to reach out and to love. And I also think there are probably some shitty people out there, pardon my language, but you know what? There's a lot of us that have good intentions. There's a lot of us who know how to love, know how to care, know how to nurture each other. We just need the chance. And so I think really that's sort of the ultimate goal that I get from my experiences. And also, before we go, please talk about where people can find you. What are you guys up to? I know we talked a little bit of Lightgate, but some of the people will be listening to this on audio only. So if you could just say it again so that they can hear what you're up to and how they can get a hold of you.
Mine is the shorter version, so I'll give you mine first. I am on Facebook. I'm in Messenger. You can, even if you're not friends with me, you can write to me in Messenger. I will answer you. There's a lot of you talking to me right now, so you have to give me a few days because I'm getting used to it. We also have the Lightgate, and I'll answer you there. And I'm in a whole bunch of groups on Facebook. So look around, see where you might see me. If you want to join them, it's a good conversation to have in a group of like-minded people. So I'm in the different groups. Okay, Preston, go.
Yeah, and I'll add that she also has a YouTube channel, Dolly Safran, one word, where you can see some of her stuff there. I have a YouTube channel as well. Just punch my name in on the internet. It should take you there. I'm all over social media. Let's see, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think that's basically it.
Well,
And my books are available on Amazon. And yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to join you guys. And thanks so much for having us on. I appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. And anytime you want to come back, please let me know, because I know you got all kinds of things planned and upcoming. And yeah, please do use my show to tell everybody about what you're doing so that my audience doesn't miss it. I'm sure we share a lot of similar audience members, but
I have
yeah.
a secret for you. You're the first person we've announced the light gate to publicly.
Oh,
So
I'm
number one.
honored. I'm honored. And I think it's just the most amazing thing. And I'm so happy for both of you. I'm so happy about the book. So the book is Symmetry. What's the rest of the title, Preston? Sorry.
Symmetry, a true UFO adventure. It's been a bestseller for a year and 3 months now. So, yay. I'm pretty excited. Can't wait to get to volume 2. We're gonna have to think of another title, Dolly.
Yeah, I know. It'll be
Wonderful.
cool.
Symmetry Part 2. We'll see.
Symmetry Part 2.
And as soon as we're done here, I'm going to nail you down about when you're coming on, and we'll talk about your book too, okay?
Me or Preston?
You.
Oh, me. I'm sorry. I'm thrilled to bits.
Okay, all right. We're going to lock it in, okay?
Oh,
Make it day.
love it,
Okay.
love it, love it. Okay. So I guess that's it for today. I want to thank the viewers, because without you, we wouldn't even have a show. I want to thank you, Dolly and Preston. Just absolute honor to have you on my show. And again, actually, I think last time you were on Quantum Guide Show. So it's just lovely to have you again. I just wish you the best of success. I love you both so much. And I'm just so proud of you and so happy for the work you're doing. And I encourage everybody to check out the links in the description and yeah, get a hold of Dolly and Preston, read the book and check out their new show. So with that, I'll just say much light and love to everybody, and we'll see you next time on ET and Angels.